Sunday! Okay. It's an amazing day, yes? It's been an amazing week. Remember, the Zohar teaches us that as we get closer and closer to the year 6000, which is the deadline to achieve our mission that we came into this world, and we're in the year 5782. So it sounds like a long time, but we're very close. If you look at it percentage-wise, we're about 97% of the way done. This is why we feel so much intensity of energy. Can go both ways, right? Like we've all learned from Kabbalah, either we use the light, as we'll talk a little more today, either we'll use the light in a light way to reveal light, or people can use that same light and that same God-given power in a negative way. Like a car. Car you can drive properly on the road, watch out for people, courtesy, etc. Or a person can take a car and run into a wall. It's the same car, same engine, same system. Depends on how a person uses it. And this is why we understand consciousness is everything. Because it's the consciousness of the driver or sometimes the unconsciousness of the driver that can cause problems. So let's read. I see a few more people populating around the world. Great to have you all around the world. Louisiana, Atlanta, Hawaii. Wow. First in, or at least first commenting. Okay. Back to Karen Berg, finding the light through the darkness. And why is that so important? The light is everywhere. Where we already see or experience light, we're okay. We can make it brighter, that's okay. But the light that we're missing, the blessings we feel that we're missing, that we know we're supposed to have and we don't have, where is it? It's hiding in our darkness. That's why Karen took it from the Zohar. Light only comes out of the darkness. Okay? So I happen to open it up, and this is the power. There is power in community. So if you want to get the book and make sure I'm reading it correctly. So Karen quotes from the Bible. Let them make for me, God, a sanctuary so that I shall dwell in their midst. Then Karen explains. So the Zohar tells us that when the Creator asked Moses to direct the people to build a tabernacle in the wilderness, the message was not only to construct a physical structure, but also a metaphysical space through which every generation can connect with the light. Make for me a sanctuary so I can dwell in their midst means create a space, a place inside you, in your heart and your soul that God can fill. Remove the foolishness, the anger, and the negativity. Take out the darkness that separates you from God and from true fulfillment. Take out the darkness, meaning from within us, that separates us from God and true fulfillment. Erase the depression and the judgment. Get rid of the selfishness, the I only care about me way of being. By ridding ourselves of these things, we create a space for the light to reside within us. We are all part of God and can each create oneness with the Creator. There remains a question. Why do we need places to come together to connect? Are we not able to connect at home? The answer, as we understand from the Zohar, is that the Creator told Moses to create a place where unity could manifest through an exchange of love. A place where we can all go when we are down or depressed, when we are happy or inspired, or even we simply feel the desire to be with people who care. On one hand, we can connect to the light by ourselves. Each of us is given a cord of light, of life, and with this thread we can become like the Creator. Yet we have our frailties as humans, and we require other strings, other energy, to combine with our own to form oneness. We need a shared place where we are free to say, boy, I messed up and please forgive me. Just as we need to create a metaphysical tabernacle within, we also need to create a physical tabernacle for all of us. So this is actually, if you know some of the history, and I'm sure many of you do, this is how the Kabbalah Center, as a center, got started. Because Karen decided that all the wisdom that the Rav had through his lineage of Rav Brandwein, Rav Ashlag, all the way back to Rabbi Shimon, needed a place where it could be taught to everybody. And so that's why Karen basically started Kabbalah centers. So like this, we can all gather together. In this case, we can either gather through cyberspace also in unity and in love. Okay, so yes, again, hello to those of you out there. Yes, yes. So amazing. Oh, we have the UK. Now we got Florida. Okay. Texas. All right. So I want to read you this. How many of you would like a kiss? Kiss. A kiss. So I looked it up just so you'll hear. KISS is an acronym for Keep It Simple, Stupid. Is a design principle noted by the U.S. Navy in 1960. The KISS principle states that most systems work best if they are kept simple rather than made complicated. Therefore, simplicity should be a key goal in design, and unnecessary complexity should be avoided. Now, they generally are referring to mechanical or computer systems. We want to understand, what about us? So just a first example, everyone heard of Jacob the Patriarch, right? Jacob the Patriarch. So in the Bible, what is he called? Ishtam, Yaakov Ishtam. Now, we can translate, as we'll see this morning, we can translate that in many ways, but Tam means simple or pure. So Jacob was just a simple person. Unfortunately, we tend to think of simple as naive, primitive, etc. What does it mean, simple? We're going to get into it here. That it just means he just followed the light 100% of the time, and that's why he's Jacob the Patriarch. He manifested his full potential of God, the light of God inside of him, and as he did that, he became Ishtam, a simple, pure, or even it's sometimes translated perfect person. What happens with us? Even Moses, one of probably the greatest leader ever in history, one of the highest consciousness ever, says he was the most humble man. So humble is another way of understanding. He was just pure. He was just simple. He was just simple. Whatever God told him. I mean, how many times you read in the Bible, Moses asked God, God spoke to Moses, Moses asked for this. If Moses was so great and so wise and so scholarly, so high and powerful, why did he ask God? Why didn't he just make his own decisions? That's the idea of the simplicity. What about us? Can we all be self-observant for a moment? Have you ever had a thought like this? Somebody invites you to some event. You ever had thoughts of, who's going to be there? Why should I go? What am I going to gain? What's my benefit? Right? Will I be able to make networking connections, etc., like this? You ever thought like that? Yeah. Have we ever thought like that? Yes. Okay, why? Because we like to complicate things. Or I like to call this spiritual chess. If you know a little, and I'm not much of a chess player, but I know the concept. Or we'll calculate and we'll complex things like this. Make things complex. Well, if I do this, or I say this, then they're going to do or say that back. Then I'm going to have to say this. Then they're going to say this. And then I'm going to say this. You ever thought like that? You have to talk to somebody in your life, somebody relationship, somebody at work, some friend, right? And you're already thinking like that spiritual chess, you know, that they think 4 or 5 moves down the line. If I move this way, they'll move this way, then I'll have to move this way, and then I can do this and this and this. So already plotting and planning. Why are we making it so complex? Why? Because that is what the illusion of these 5 senses do to us with the influence of that thing we call the opponent. That spiritual parasite that we planted in our minds collectively to challenge us, to make an effort. How strongly do we have certainty that the light is my only source of lasting fulfillment? That's the question. And that's the purpose of this parasite we call Satan, the opponent, the adversary, the challenger, the ego even. It's there to test our certainty that the light is the only source of lasting fulfillment. And what has he taunt us with? All the 1%. Age-old question. Why do bad things happen to good people? Ever thought about it? Sure. Especially when it comes to ourselves. I'm such a good person. Why did that thing happen? No. So I want us to learn simplicity. Keep it simple, stupid. 5,782 years Kabbalistically, we've been making it complex. We don't learn from history. We haven't learned from the examples given to us through the Bible, which is the whole power of the Zohar in its wisdom aspect. We don't learn. We don't learn. Why? Because the illusion looks like different things at different times. Doesn't look like our times. You read about the Bible. How many of us wandered through the desert for 40 years? So what does it have to do with me? How many of us lived in Egypt? What does it have to do with me? All these stories that we read in the Bible, what does it have to do with me? You and I have the great fortune in the Kabbalah Center to learn how it applies to us in today's world. Because the laws of the universe have not changed in 14.5 billion years since the Big Bang. It's the same for everybody. And that's what we're learning in the center. Keep it simple, stupid. So, what's the most simple concept we learn here? I know you'll say consciousness is everything. This is simple. I've heard it, I don't know, how many thousands of times since I've been in the center. You walk in a dark room and you want to remove the darkness so you can see, so you can find something, so you can avoid obstacles and getting hurt. What do? I tell them how powerful I am. I tell them how much I know. I pay off the darkness to go away. What do? Turn on the light. Keep it simple, stupid. You walk in a dark room, you turn on the light, darkness goes away, and clarity replaces it. That's what we have to learn spiritually. How many of us have any darkness today? Confusion, a little chaos, a little discord. Yes, all of us, yes? How many of you out there in cyberspace? We all have it. Turn on the light. Turn on the light. So here, in Deuteronomy, there's a few verses I want to bring up. Deuteronomy, it says like this, 18:13, if you want to look it up. And this is even in the English translation. Be simple with your Lord God. Be simple with your Lord God. In the Hebrew, it's again the word tam. Tam, be simple. Okay, pure channel like we talked about. So, I want to give you some steps from another verse. Micah, one of the prophets, verse 6-8, and then we'll talk a little more detail of this. This is what he says, the great prophet. It has been told to you, humanity, what is good and what the Lord requires of you. Okay, you ready? What does God want from us or require of us? Only to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. I know, we're already saying, that's me. I already do all that. Come on, let's be honest. Of course we're thinking that. And it is true. We all do it to some extent. But let's start analyzing it and breaking it down a little more to its simplicity. So here's a couple things I came up with. Do justly. Justly. The word in the Hebrew is Elohim. It's an aspect of judgment. Do justly, right? Justice. What is justice? Why do people go to court? But what does justice mean? They want the judge to decide who's correct, who's right. Now, unless they're on the losing side, the general concept is the judge is objective, and they're just going to look at the evidence and, like we might call it, assess it. They're going to assess which follows the law, which didn't follow the law, that sort of thing. So then what about us in our life? To have clear assessment. To do that, you have to turn on the light, right? To assess ourselves. Let's start to ask this. When I'm in a challenging situation, am I about to behave or did I behave reactive? Am I looking at the light inside me, or am I looking at the 1% of the situation so I can blame, I can be a victim, and I can have some immediate gratification at justifying why my life is in the state it is? Do justly. Do justly. Be true in your assessment of the situation, remembering everything we learn here in the center. Do I see an opportunity to repair myself, my past mistakes, or do I want to blame, be a victim, and shirk my responsibilities and shrink away? Do justly. Be like God. Simple. Act like the light. Act like the light. So this is now we've got to start asking, how many of us ever looked in the mirror and judged ourselves in a negative way? Okay, so the moment we're judging ourselves in a negative way, are we seeing God inside of us? Are we realizing that we are pure and perfect beings of light? No. So we're not judging justly. We can assess. All of us make mistakes, like we read from Karen. Boy, did I mess up? Please forgive me. Okay, but we're not taking ourselves to task. We're not thinking, that's just who I am. What can I do about it? We understand here what we can do about it. So do justly. Have a true light, focused assessment, even of the other person. If I can look at myself and see I've done mistakes, but I'm still a good person, I have that purity of God inside me, then I have to be just by allowing those other people who did the things or said the things I didn't like, hurt my feelings, etc. I also have to see God in them. I have to judge them also the same way. Do justly. See the light in them. Help awaken the light in them. Don't just look at the outside. What's the next part? Love mercy. We all want mercy, don't we? Especially when we make our mistakes. I made a mistake. No, have mercy. Because we all know, you and I here, we know that the law of cause and effect is 100%. There's no exception, and it's active to the most minute thing we do, say, or think. So when we look back and we realize I did something reactive, and I know there's supposed to be some consequence of that I probably won't like, I want to have mercy. I want to have mercy. So what do the Kabbalists teach us? Mercy, love mercy. Number one, love is unity, oneness. Am I unified? Am I one with this energy of mercy? Do I wish or act? This is going to push some buttons inside of us. Somebody did something bad to us. Do you ever remember a time when you thought, I can't wait to see them get it back? I want to be there and watch. Where's the mercy at that time? No mercy at that time. But imagine, remember, cause and effect. The universe is a mirror. So to the extent a person is looking to get the other guy, to see the punishment, to see what's going to happen to the other person, you know what the Zohar says? Think about it. If a person stays, when a person is looking to see the other guy get it, we're not going to do anything. We know the cosmos is going to take care of it, but we want to be there and see what happens. Well, listen to the terms. The spiritual bomb is coming towards that person, and when the other person says they want to be there and see it, so they're standing in the same place when the spiritual bomb hits. And that's why the Zohar says when people are seeking that kind of revenge, creates problems in the heart. Problems in the heart. So loving mercy, do I want to be caught up in their negativity? Because remember, it's our choice to be with them when their bomb strikes them. You know, heaven forbid, like they call it, collateral damage, right? The bomb is aimed at one person, but people who are close, collateral damage. So we don't want to be collateral damage. But the only way to do that, love mercy, meaning what? Like attracts like. Opposites repel. So if the other person behaved in a reactive way, gave in to their spiritual parasite, immerse themselves in the darkness, then as we act with light, seeing the light in their soul, shining light on them, emanating it from our heart and soul, our light and their darkness repel. And we will not be in that place when it strikes them. That's mercy. And at the same time, what are we doing for our own negative behaviors? We're distancing ourselves also. We're clearing them out. Now, some of us are looking, thinking, you know, I've been pretty good this life. I really don't have hatred. I really never done anything real negative, etc. So, whether you believe it or not, you are the totality of all your past lives. Whether you accept it or not, and I challenge you to go research it, whatever religion you were raised in, I virtually guarantee you, if you really research, in the beginnings of your religion, and some currently, they teach or taught reincarnation. So you and I may sit here and say, we're such good people, and we're very nice, and we really don't do a lot of these bad things. But if you have a little bit of impatience in this lifetime, just a little bit, and you go back 3 or 4 lifetimes, probably as you go backwards, the impatience got bigger and bigger and bigger until there was a violent output against other people or what have you. So sometimes in this lifetime, we are still paying off those debts. It took lifetimes for that spiritual bomb to travel through the spiritual cosmos, and some of our past life mistakes are showing up now. So even if we think we're so great and we're good this lifetime, let's remember we all could use some mercy. But we cannot cause the universe to give us mercy if we're not giving mercy to other people. And for me, the best way and easiest way to give mercy, look inside their soul. Remember that their soul and my soul both are filled with the light of God. And just as I, in my level, have often disregarded the voice of the light and proactive behavior and acted in a reactive way and created a little more darkness in my life, so too that's what they're doing. So when we have mercy, we look inside their soul, awaken God inside them. That's mercy, and it will come back to us also. Do justly and love mercy. Do I give them, myself, a second chance? Do I give them the benefit of the doubt? Do I encourage myself and them to do better? Now, again, encouraging the other person can be just sending light. You scan from your Zohar, send light to the soul of every person that's doing negative behaviors. One means more light has to come out of our soul, removes our darkness, and we're sending light to them, helps remove their darkness. Okay. Third aspect, walk humbly. All right, what was the quote? Do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with God. So what does walk humbly mean? Am I taking credit for how good I am? Am I taking credit for all the good things in my life? Am I taking credit for all my talents and abilities and how I've expressed them? Do I take credit for all the good things, even we're in the center? So I shared Zohar with somebody, I encouraged somebody to come learn in the classes, etc., and I took credit. Oh, I'm such a good person. Or do we remember? Do I remember that I am just a vessel of the light? Think of your favorite author, your favorite writer. Okay? Put someone in your mind. Now imagine whatever their writing instrument. The actual thing that put the words on the paper was the writing instrument. Yes? So now imagine the writing instrument looking at what's being written on that paper or typed on the computer and says to itself, look what I have done. I wrote all of Shakespeare. I wrote all of this. What would we say? If the pen, let's just use that, if the pen could talk and looking at us and the pen says, look at this amazing novel, this amazing story that I wrote, what would we say to the pen? You didn't write it. You were just the instrument, the author. was the writer. They used you to put the words on paper. So we have to also think of ourselves the same way. I've been given, you've been given, we've all been given God-given talents and ability. Where does our very life come from? Comes from God, not from us. We are just a vessel. How do you know? Ask, how many people don't wake up in the morning? How many people's soul left between last night and today, all around the world? Do you think they decided? Last night they went to sleep and they said, they're not waking up in the morning. You think that's what they thought? Sometimes, okay, I hear some of you out there, well, maybe there's a person who had the feeling they weren't going to wake up. Okay, except for the very few, perhaps like that. Most people go to sleep thinking they're going to wake up. I mean, if a person really, really knew they weren't going to wake up in the morning, probably most of them would probably go out and party or do something instead of sleeping, no? But when we go to sleep expecting maybe to have dreams, maybe just to get rest and wake up in the morning and go about the next day. So we can see the very fact that people don't wake up in the morning, the life itself, the life force itself is not in our control, not in that way. We're just the conduit. So walk humbly means acknowledging the Creator is my source of lasting fulfillment. The Creator, the light force, is the power that flows through me. The Creator is the thing that gave me talents and abilities. My job, like the pen. So if you go to the pen, if you're writing with a pen, it runs out of ink. What do you do with a pen? Yeah, you just fill it with ink, get another, etc., etc. So the same thing. The same thing. When we are using our free will to act in the opposite way, it's like the pen running out of ink, right? The light of God wants to channel through us, and we're blocking it. So our job is to do the same thing. Stop using our free will to misbehave. Start using our free will more and more on a higher level. Walk humbly. Why does it say Moses? Moses was the most humble man. And for me, 34 years learning that, it's a paradox. Is it not? Who wrote the words, Moses is the most humble man? Moses! If you and I wrote an autobiography and we said, I am the greatest person on earth, people would say we have a big ego. What if we wrote in our autobiography, I'm the most humble person on earth? They'd still say we have an ego. How can you be so egotistical to write you're the most humble? Yet Moses did it. And why is it truly humility on Moses' part? Because Moses didn't write the 5 books of Moses. Moses was just the pen, if you will, the transcriber. God spoke to Moses, Moses' hand wrote. So Moses didn't even stop to think. Like, okay, God's dictating to us, Chaim is the most humble person on earth. I'd probably stop and say, God, you really think I should write that? What are people going to say? They're going to tell me I have a big ego. They're going to da-da-da-da. So it's already the ego got in the way. I'm already not the most humble. I'm already not the pure channel. Moses was so pure, he didn't even think about it. God spoke, he wrote. Simple, like the pen. The pen doesn't think, you want to write that word? Or you just made a mistake? No, the pen doesn't think, it just follows your instructions. So Moses was pure that way. So he was able to write, I am the most humble man. You and I, what's humility? One of the most powerful things when I first started learning in the center that I heard about ego. Because what's humility? Unless you've heard it here before, you think, okay, if you start to acknowledge you have a little ego, so then you start to say, okay, I'm not going to think I'm the best. Even in our terms, I know God gave me the power. I know God is my source. I know the light is what I want to flow through me. I know it's light-given talents and abilities and all of that. And the Rav, it's over 30 years ago, the first time I heard it, the Rav said, what's real humility? The ultimate of humility? ego breaker? Asking for help. Asking for help. Because to ask for help, what are we not acknowledging? I don't have the answer. I don't know. What could be a bigger ego breaker? I mean, imagine you and I, smart people, intelligent people, imagine, whatever, big business people, scholars, etc., to be able to say, I don't know, I need your help. That's the most powerful ego breaker. So, do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly. Walk humbly, meaning always asking for help. Think, I guarantee you, if you look back the last few hours of your day, there's a moment somewhere that you had this kind of wild or illogical thought that jumped in your mind. And when you followed it, even a little thing, just this morning on my way here, so I'm packing up, I'm preparing my stuff, etc., and I'm about to walk out. All of a sudden I get a thought, go back to the kitchen. Why? What? I have my coffee, right? It's here. I got everything in the car already. Why go back to the kitchen? But fortunately, I've been learning through my thick skull. Only 34 years it took me to be in the center to finally get to this point. I went back to the kitchen. Okay, it may not sound like a big deal. The lights were on. That's it. Lights were on. Okay. No big deal. But I have learned. I shut the lights off and immediately, thank you, God, thank you, light. Just to acknowledge, it's not me, it wasn't my brain. It was the universe, my soul, the creator saying, hey, go turn off the lights. Why? Why is it such a big deal? Okay, so I've been gone a few hours, a few lights in the kitchen. Because I have learned 34 years in the center. Okay, I'll share this story. About the first year I was a teacher, and I'm in New York, and just to sort of cut to the chase, I was going to leave lights on for a little longer than they should have been. For those of you familiar on Shabbat, I was setting timers, and we didn't have enough. Remember, this is like 1988, so they didn't have all the fancy computer timers we have now. It was the old mechanical one. We had the little, dividers or the little peg you put in there. So I didn't have enough pegs for the whole 25 hours. So I was going to leave the lights on a little bit and then, we get started. And of course, at that moment, the Rav happened to walk by. Chaim, what's going on? So I told the Rav what's going on. And the Rav looked at me and he said, Chaim, the money that people give us is holy money. And they're expecting tremendous blessings from it because of what we do. So every penny we waste, we are basically stealing from those people. Ooh, painful. Because I understood that basically the Rav was telling me that I was a thief for stealing because people were making donations, and the donations, like here, donations have to pay for the lights and pay for the air conditioning, besides helping us to expand the programs. And so the Rav was teaching me a very important lesson, as I heard also in other ways from the Rav. Money, particularly the money that comes to the center, holy money. And we need to use it as best and as effectively and efficiently as we can. So the Rav used to teach, and we all share it, all the teachers in various prosperity classes. The Rav and Karen told us, if you're walking down the street, and we've probably all done it, walk down the street, you see a penny on the ground, and you don't pick it up, for whatever reason. The Rav would say, you're not worth a penny. Why? Because we're not acknowledging that there's the light of God in that penny. The light of God. So if we're walking by and not picking it up, we are disregarding and disrespecting the light of God. And therefore we are not worth that piece of light. So humble. Ask for help. Like we said, do justly, right? Love mercy, walk humbly. So why does God want us to do this? Why is the Bible telling us this? What does God want from us? We learn in this way from Micah, the prophet, right? Do justly, love mercy, walk humbly. But remember, the Bible is not commandments of God. While we're on the subject, let's just think for a minute. If you believe, as we do, that the light of the Creator is all powerful, the light of God is what sustains the universe, right? What brought all these things into manifestation, the stars, the planets, the plants, the animals, our physicality, etc., even our soul. So if the Creator truly, as the 10 Commandments, which we know, it's not really called. Hebrew, it's called Eser Dibrot, 10 sayings, 10 sentences, 10 words even. If they were really commandments, if the Creator, in its infinite power, really said, you cannot steal, would any human being be able to steal? No way. If the infinite light of the Creator really had commanded, you cannot steal, then nobody on earth would be able to steal. But we know that a lot of people have stolen, and even you and I in various ways. This is where the Kabbalists are waking us up to realize it's not a commandment, Eser Dibrot. Like you go to a friend, should I do this or this? They give you advice. They give you their best suggestion. They give you what they feel is good for you to do. Do you have to do what they say? No. So when we read those things called the 10 Commandments, Eser Dibrot, 10 utterances, they're words of advice, suggestions. Don't steal. Why? Because it says later on, for every dollar that's stolen, the thief will lose, with no exception, $1.20. So don't be stupid to steal $1, because somewhere down the line they're going to lose $1.20. And they're not stealing to lose. A person steals thinking they're going to gain. The same thing, don't murder. Why? Because whatever goes out comes back. But sadly, people do murder. So we're here to understand this is advice. The prophets have been giving us advice. The Kabbalists are giving us advice, suggestions, how, as it says, how to walk with God. How to walk with God. And so, again, unfortunately or fortunately, we have free will. We've been given free will from the endless world, and we are here in this world to use our free will to pause when we're challenged, when we're triggered, when something of a reactive energy wakes up inside of us. Pause. Now use your free will. Do you want to conceal light, reveal light? Remember, keep it simple, stupid. Turn on the light, darkness goes away. Clarity comes to you. Turn off the light, can't see, don't get inspired, can fall over things, trip in the pitfalls of life, fall into negativity, be with the wrong people, make the wrong decisions, do the wrong things that bring oneself detriment. So let's take the advice. And then here, in closing, another verse. Again, the Bible here and there, you keep going. Genesis 17, verse 1. Abraham the patriarch. We'll talk about him for a second here. It says, 17:1, the Lord appeared to Abram and said, I am God Almighty. Walk before me and be perfect. What is he saying? Follow the example of Abraham. Just be simple. God says, we do. God says, we do. It is a choice. So don't think it's taking away your free will. It's actually the only use of free will is not to choose or not to unconsciously stay in the reactive frame. Pause. Now choose to walk with God. Choose to be a channel of the light. Choose to extend more light. Choose to share uncomfortably transformational sharing that lets more light shine out of you, removes more of your darkness, brings you blessing. How do we see it by Abraham? Read the story. And again, the Bible we believe is true, but it's giving us the structure and the technology of the universe. So when God told Abraham, Abraham, leave your house, leave your familiar surroundings, and go. What would we ask? Why should I? Where I'm going? What's the point? What am I doing? No. Abraham was simple, pure. God said walk, he just started going. Period. He didn't ask why, where, what for, how come, why me, couldn't you pick my neighbor? He just went. Then you read what? Abraham says to God, God, I look at my astrology, and Abraham was the greatest astrologer in history. He wrote all the details of the planets, even the physical environments of the planets out there. Remember, the Book of Formation written 4,000 years ago. He describes the atmospheres on the planets in our solar system. How did he do that? Because God told him, he wrote. Simple. So God, he looks and he says, God, you're telling me like my descendants are going to be like the stars in the heaven, and they're going to be like the dust in the ground and this. But I see by my astrology, I'm not going to have children. So what did God tell him? Read the Bible. And yes, it's true literally, but the bigger piece for us is like what we're learning now. What's the spiritual lesson? What's the spiritual understanding? So it says, God told Abraham, let's go out of your tent, start counting the stars. Abraham didn't say, are you kidding, God? All those stars I'm going to count? How am I going to count? How am I going to be able to remember? I counted that one, didn't count that one, did this. No, he just went out and started counting. Simple and pure. Simple and pure. And what was he able to do? Fortunately for all of us, have many descendants. In fact, essentially, because I can't say 100%, could be 100%, but let's say 99% of the people on the earth today, of the 8 billion, 99% at least come from Abraham. All of us. That's why we keep learning here. We're one soul, one soul, one soul. God only made one soul. We look like we're in 8.5 billion bodies, but we're one soul. So even from that point of view, Abraham, the name Avraham, father of many nations. So there's 8 billion people on the planet. We may think we're Jew, Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, Hindu, black, white, yellow, brown, Far East, Near East, South America, North America. We may think we're different. We're not. We're all one family. So let's stop the sibling rivalry. Let's stop the infighting, because God gave us everything. So this is our job today. Be simple. Channel the light. Be like the light. When we're not, pause and then think and act. How can I be like the light? So let's be like Abraham. 1, open our heart to the light of God inside of us, and open our heart to see and acknowledge the light in the other person. Connect to the light in the other person. Then as we walk in greater unity with the Creator and greater unity with each other, because we're connecting ourselves back to that original one soul, heart to heart, soul to soul, with every person on earth. Every person. Every person. Yes, those people also. As we connect ourselves heart to heart, soul to soul, with every person on earth. And you and I gather more people here in the teachings, in the wisdom, in the tools and technology we call the Kabbalah Center. As we gather more people and we walk together, heart with heart, soul to soul, then we are going to draw with us all people on earth to live in God's light, love, and heaven on earth. God bless. Thank you. So I'd like to do our meditation. One again, I appreciate for all of you who are regular donors. It's greatly appreciated. May you have many blessings from it, which is why we take this time. Because if we're all in it together, the center isn't the physical building like we read from Karen. It's what people put into it. So we appreciate your support and your contributions to help us not only just maintain, but expand. And as we see what's going on in the world, there's a lot of people out there who want to come, that's the scholarship fund, And we're helping to support them with scholarship money, that they can take the classes, that they can look, follow on Kabbalah.com, etc., and to spread more Zohar, because it's very simple. What do we say today? Light removes darkness. The physical books of the Zohar, the most powerful conduit of the endless light. So the more we can spread them, and the faster we do, faster we bring everybody into the awareness God is inside them, and the faster they have clarity to do only the positive, sharing, loving, kind acts. So let's take a moment. Those of you who are here, just hold your offering in your hands. Those of you online, just do the meditation with us, and then I've posted the giving site, or just on the Spiritual Sunday site, you can find it, because money is a vessel. And as we said, we want to connect with, activate the light of God that's inside it. So one, we're just holding the consciousness, love, unity, humility, acknowledging our talents and abilities are the Creator's on loan to us. The intelligence, the wisdom, the strength, the power that we have used to have these resources, all of our resources. We humbly acknowledge they come from the light, belong to the light, and it's our great blessing to share it, to spread the light of the Zohar, to activate on a higher, greater level the light of God inside every single one of us, taking away the clouds of darkness, taking away the veils and the illusions that have influenced us to believe in any form of divisiveness, to think that there's anybody else out there except me. As we look out in the world, we see reflections of ourselves. And therefore, this gift, this contribution, through the projects of the center, is bringing each of our 8 billion facets of ourselves into stronger connection, greater awareness of the light of the Creator inside of us, connecting us to make greater use as channels, instruments of the light, to manifest through our actions greater love, kindness, and compassion to all people. To walk before, technically with God, everywhere we go and everything we do. That we will be in perfect, complete unity and oneness with God and with the God in each other. Knowing that this gift, this offering, this sharing goes out, blesses the world, and comes back to bless us in every way, shape, or form, in all facets and areas of our life. And together we say, Amen. So thank you all for joining us. Yes. Okay. Keep it simple. I got to think of another word because I don't want to call us that other word. Yes. Keep it simple. Silly people. Okay. Lots of love and blessings. Have an amazing week. Remember, once we end the video, please go back on Facebook. Just share it out there. Let's just put it out in cyberspace. I will, as I did last week, I will make a little effort when I get home to put today's video also on YouTube, because I know a lot of you have friends that don't go on Facebook. So we'll put it on YouTube. You can let them go to the Spiritual Sunday YouTube page, and or YouTube channel, I guess it's called, and see also the message today. God bless. Have an amazing week. Send me your transformations, your miracles, and even your questions. I look forward to hearing from you.